It is Monday, June 17th, 2024, and Adobe is being sued by the US federal government. They're accusing the software maker of heavy termination fees that are harming consumers. And to those of you who watch this channel on the regular, you are not at all surprised by this. We've talked about this before. In fact, 3 years ago, I did an entire video where I talked about how to sign up for an Adobe account, how to avoid getting burned by that Adobe account, and then how to eventually cancel that account and all the nuances along the way. It took me 11 minutes to describe that. I went looking for that video to rewatch it today. It was really hard to find because there are so many other videos on YouTube of people talking about the problems they have had trying to cancel their Adobe service. So at the core of it, what is happening is Adobe is signing you up for an annualized plan that looks like a monthly plan. And there's an early termination fee of 50% to that annual plan. So if you use it for a few months, you cancel it, you have to still pay 50% of what's remaining on that plan. So currently it costs $90 a month to use Adobe Creative Cloud. That's $1,080 a year. And if you get halfway through that plan, let's say 6 months through that plan, you would still owe $540. So if you canceled at that 6-month point, you would be charged by Adobe a cancellation fee of $270. So the earlier in the year you cancel, the larger that termination fee is going to be. Now the problem here is many of these things are hidden from the customer when they're going through that sales process. Brad from the future here. I'm editing the video and some of the things on Adobe's site have changed. I don't know if they've changed recently or in light of this lawsuit. However, they have changed. But what Adobe is being sued for are some of the things that I talked about in my older videos. So some of the screenshots I'm showing here aren't as clear as they are on Adobe's site today. So at what point in the process does Adobe disclose these things? They disclose it at the very end when you're signing up for the service and entering your personal information and your credit card details. There's this little block of text down at the bottom of the page that describes what's going on and what you will be charged for. This image is from my old video when I created an account, signed up and went through it, so the prices are a little old here. You'll be charged $52.99 plus tax monthly. At the end of your 1-year term, your subscription will automatically renew monthly until canceled. Price subject to change. No annual commitment required after the first year. Cancel any time. Now that does not mention the cancellation fee. Where do you learn about that? It's this little link down here. Subscription and cancellation terms. Now the good news here is this annual subscription only applies for the first year that you are a subscriber. So if you've been subscribed for multiple years at this point, you can cancel right away. In fact, I had 2 Adobe accounts for a while, and earlier, at the beginning of this year, I decided to cancel my second one because I just wasn't using it that much. I know it sounds crazy, but I review a lot of devices and you can only sign into 2 at a time. And it was just kind of a pain in the butt. So I bought a second account for a few years. But in March, I canceled that account and I had no problems at all because it was a 3-year-old account. But that's not the experience a lot of people have. I know this because of comments. I know this because of Twitter and what people have said there. And I know this because of the FTC lawsuit. This is from Reuters. The FTC also said Adobe forces subscribers who want to cancel online to navigate unnecessary numerous pages, while those canceling by phone are often disconnected or forced to repeat themselves multiple times to multiple representatives and encounter resistance and delay from those representatives. And I heard from multiple people on Twitter when I posted about this lawsuit saying, man, I canceled and then I looked at my bill 2 months later and realized I was still being charged, forcing them to go through this cycle all over again. As a creator, none of this is news. We have known about Adobe doing this kind of crazy, nasty, anti-consumer stuff for years. And it actually felt pretty good today to see someone from the federal government actually say, yes, this is a bad policy. This is anti-consumerist. Samuel Levine of the FTC said this: Adobe trapped consumers into year-long subscriptions through hidden early termination fees and numerous cancellation hurdles. Adobe has commented on this. This is what Dana Rao said. Subscription services are convenient, flexible, and cost-effective to allow users to choose a plan that best fits their need, timeline, and budget. We are transparent with the terms and conditions of our subscription agreements and have a simple cancellation process. Now, this is not the first time the US federal government has gone after a company for doing this. Just last year, they sued Amazon for similar practices. The one thing I remember from that video I made a few years ago that really pissed me off, like really made me mad, were their student plans. I'm a professional. If you screw me over, I can afford to pay it off. I'm not going to like it, but you know, I'll live. But a student who's already paying these student loans, to take advantage of them with some of these plans are just despicable. Now, student plans are cheaper. They cost about half as much, but they're only available as an annualized service. Whereas I could get, as a professional, a month-by-month service plan. Costs a lot more, but it is available to students. It's not. Most students who are learning this software might take a Photoshop course, an Illustrator course, a Premiere course. Those courses last for like, what, 3-4 months? But these students have to pay an entire year. And if they cancel at the end of the course, when they're done learning this stuff, they get slammed with that cancellation fee. And that was the part 3 years ago that really stuck in my craw. I remember when I recorded that video at the time, I really had to dial down my frustration. In fact, this is the third time I'm recording this section because I'm getting mad again. You got this, Brad. The responses I saw to my tweet and everybody else's tweet around this on Twitter was not surprising at all. It was, I would describe it as joy. Now, many of the people I follow are some of them are video makers, some of them are illustrators, some of them are designers. And to see it across the board, across all of these career paths, to see people just joyous, to see Adobe get their comeuppance is crazy. To see how this company has pissed away so much goodwill over a relatively short amount of time is remarkable. I've always defended Adobe and other companies that want to charge a lot for their software. It's always been an unpopular stand here on this channel, but I believe that software should come in at all price points with levels of service and that sort of thing. And there are pros out there who make good money using this software, and you should provide a product and service that fits their needs. There's also software out there that is really inexpensive. In fact, I have a video coming in a couple days that tells you what some of the alternatives are to all of Adobe's applications. Subscribe if you want to see that. If you only have $20 to spend on an illustration program, you can find it. If you want a $10 iPad application to draw in, you can find that. There's free stuff out there. It's a great ecosystem. I'm actually okay with Adobe charging $90 a month for their software. I don't like paying it. I understand why many of you are not okay with that, but they have every right to do that. What I am not okay with are these really kind of disgusting policies that take advantage of their customers just to make more money. And over and over and over again, we just keep seeing this. What I think is remarkable about all of this is how the support for Adobe has eroded over the course of my 20-some-odd year career. Back in the day when Adobe released InDesign, I was using Quark Express a lot for design work, and I was so excited that Adobe was releasing a competitor that would actually like chase the leader at the time and make better software. And InDesign was far better software. I would rather use Illustrator than Macromedia Freehand. There's a lot of examples. Back then, when I started, Adobe, they weren't always the good guy. Their software was pretty expensive, but there were a lot of people who were really enthusiastic about Photoshop. It was fun to learn. There was lots of cool stuff you could do. People were posting tutorials about it all the time. People still are, but the enthusiasm is definitely not there. The subscription model has done a lot to take away a ton of that goodwill, but just all of these other little things they've done. I made an entire video just the other week about AI and how they screwed over people who submitted to their stock library and just used that for training without them knowing about it and changing the terms of service. And of course, as they changed their other terms of service, that blew up on them. Nobody trusts them to do anything anymore. All of these little things add up. It's kind of sad. I know people who work at Adobe who are good people, but to see no confidence in the leadership of that company is truly remarkable. But what do you think? Let me know down below in the comments. Thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days.